Hello there, I'm Big Alias, and I like making mistakes. And I made one last night. I saw Wuthering Heights. You know what? I didn't even intend for any of that to rhyme. I mean, it's awful. Absolutely atrocious start to a video. But I guess it makes sense. It's an atrocious film. It's bad. Man, I did not enjoy myself with this film. The feeling that I came away with was, what do you want me to think? What do you want me to feel? What is it that you want me to feel right now? Other than horny, which, newsflash, I didn't. I was a little bit staggered, actually. My favorite review for this came from IHE, and he said that, I hate everything. He said, the only thing, there's nothing this film will provide you unless you want to be horny in the cinema, unless you want to feel like having a wank in the cinema. And I have to say, I don't feel that way. I do not feel that way about this film. I think it's not a sexy movie in any way. I don't know why it was billed as a sexy movie. I cannot explain why. And I don't know why people think it's a sexy movie, because I really don't. This is an awful way to begin, a terrible subject matter to begin with. But that being said, that's how the film was presented to us, was that it was like this raunchy, scandalous, sexy movie. And I just don't think so. It was more boring than sexy. And it took a very long time to get there. Yeah, sure, there are some sex scenes. I don't know if I was given a PG-13 version or something like that. But I know I wasn't, by the way. But there was not, no. I mean, maybe an hour and a half in, you get some sex, and it's shot in a way that's so silhouetted that you can barely see what's happening. It only lasts for a few seconds on screen. So I guess it is realistic sex. And then after you see the first act or two, which again is very muted, very subdued, the rest of it is just montaged. All of the sexy goings on, and he's putting his penis in me. All of that is just montaged to a Charlie XCX song. So I don't know what you were expecting me to feel about that. And then as the film progresses, all of that slows down and pretty much stops. Not that it was doing anything for, I think, anyone in the cinema. And yeah, that all slows down, and then the film is just has just a bit of a sad ending. Not a good sad ending, just oh, all right, okay. And then it's over. And in terms of the story and not being able to feel anything, yeah, this story did nothing for me too. I honestly, it's so ineffective. And I know that a lot of people are putting it down to the performances. I think it's the directing, honestly. And the issue here, one big issue here, is Emerald, the director, is a Nepo baby who comes from a family that's worth, I think it's billions. And, how do you tell a story from the Yorkshire Dales in this time about working class people or poor people, and come from that background and have it come off as genuine? Well, I guess she decided just not to, because, oh my God, wow, this film does not commit to many, like I said, what do you want me to feel? What do you want me to think? It doesn't commit to very, very, very much conversation about anything. The only thing it really does sort of give you is that you should just let the rich people look after you. Oh, they've got your best interest at heart. Of all of the characters in this film, they're all shitty. Everyone is awful. The only person who actually has Claire, the only person who has Claire's best interest at heart is the rich guy who's looking after her, and she's happiest when she's there with the rich guy. And then, yeah, of course, there's this thing that comes through. And by the way, yeah, major spoilers. There's going to be big spoilers in the film. Don't worry about it. There is nothing to spoil. This is a story as old as time, and I hope, I've never read it, but I hope Emily Bronte's version is a lot more captivating. But yeah, in this story, everyone's shitty except the rich guy who's looking after her and just has her best interest at heart. But of course there's this undercurrent of, but there's this guy who I'm in love with and I just can't get away from it. And it almost gets interesting where there's this chain of, yeah, but I want this guy, and I know that this life is feeding me, but this guy, the pull between this guy is this intangible thing that I'm craving. And then they kind of just, the rich guy really is just looking after her at the best. They turn the poor guy, who, they describe as a beggar in the film, and don't resolve that, by the way, just because he isn't rich. This film, by the way, this film hates people who are not rich. It really does. It really leaves a sour taste in your tongue. But yeah, so this guy, Heathcliff, the guy who they describe as a beggar, but who comes back as rich, and then it becomes acceptable for him to fuck Claire, and now suddenly he's rich. But yeah, this guy, he then becomes a complete monster, an asshole, a monster. There's no other way to describe it. In fact, that's the way they describe him in the film. He's a monster, an abuser, a sexual deviant. And that is the guy who isn't rich. Yeah, he can't be okay. And then the guy who is rich, who's looking after her and tender and nice, yeah, he's the one we should be looking out for. And I know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm feeling incredulous and bitter watching the film. But hey, that's how I feel. That's how Emerald made me feel. And I think she did a damn good job of making me feel that way. And I don't think I could feel any other way. I don't think there's any other feelings I could have towards this film other than that. Because, again, nothing happens. Let me tell you what happens in this film. Again, they're going to be major spoilers. But there are two people. She adopts, it's a story as old as time. She adopts this boy and then falls in love with the boy. And then they don't really explore it where they could have explored it. And then she's from a rich family. And then the rich family lose all their money. And then she goes off and just marries a rich guy. She decides, I'm going to marry the guy down the road because he's rich, Mr. Linden. And then she just does that. She just does it. There's no conflict. No, how is she going to get there? How is she going to get him to fall in love? It just does. She knew he wouldn't, and he does. So they get married. He looks after her. Heathcliff comes back. She's like, I do love this guy. I'm in love with this guy. And then they have an affair, and then he gets too possessive, and then they call off the affair, and then she dies. That's pretty much it. She's grieving, and they think that it's the grief killing her, but it's actually sepsis. And that's a good cautionary tale about sepsis. Do be careful of blood infection. But yeah, that's the story. That's what you're going to be experiencing. It is slow. The dialogue is not good. Honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of the performances either from anyone. Martin Clunes is here, and at first I didn't really buy it. He was giving his all, and I love that. Martin Clunes is a big actor in the 90s from the UK, and not many people really talk about him very much nowadays, so it was nice to see him in a big, AAA blockbuster role. And I will say that once they degraded him, he started hamming it up again, and it was great. He gives the best performance of the film when he's poor and again poor and weak and all this. He gives a fantastic performance. A lot of people are talking about Jacob Elordi's performance being great. I didn't really feel it. Didn't feel that way. I thought it was all right, and there are some good moments in there, but aside from that, not really. Margot Robbie, I don't know what it is people see in Margot Robbie's performances, because I don't see it. I did not think she did a good job here. I didn't buy her as a character at all. She didn't feel like she was part of the scene in most of the scenes. Not helped by the fact that fucking Charlie XCX is playing in the background of a period film. I don't know whose decision I think I do. I do understand that she was there to help make the advertising, essentially. But man, it just didn't work. What are you doing? It's a period piece. There should be strings and more strings and pianos and some more strings in there. It should not be. It didn't feel right. And when Margot Robbie with visible caked in lip gloss in some of these scenes and a face full of makeup is, oh la di da di da. It did nothing for me, and she really didn't feel like part of any scene, if I'm honest with you, during this film. So nothing was captivating me. I would say the only positive is that I think visually. Okay, so I've only ever seen from Emerald, I've seen Saltburn and now Wuthering Heights, although from what I can tell, she hasn't really been involved in all much more. And I would say that I think Saltburn was visually more interesting and actually a better film. I actually liked Saltburn, although I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that now that I know more about the director. I liked Saltburn, yeah, I thought it was a good movie and visually very good, captivating, a beautiful film. And there's some of that DNA in this film, though I will say not quite as much. I'd say about 60% of this film looks great. About 20% of it looks fantastic. The rest is just and I do like Emerald's sort of commitment to dipping into these unreal feeling locations and set. It's very expressionist. as Saltburn was too. A lot of these shots you feel like, oh wow, that doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like a real shot, but in a good way, not in a bad way, not in a, oh, that's AI generated way. And I'm like, that is impressive. It's so beautiful that it just doesn't even look real. And some of the shots really are really great. The way that the sun peels through the arch, there's a great like silhouetted side-on shot of a cliff edge. There's some really great stuff there, though I will say that sometimes it felt a little too much, and unfortunately due to the way that this is cut together, and it is very poorly edited. Not great editing here, but the way that this is cut together, sometimes it just feels like a music video, especially again when Charli XCX is playing in the background. It can feel like a 2-hour long music video. This it's very exaggerated, and that's great, but again when you cut it together in such a heavy way, it can feel very music video-y, which I think honestly could contribute to the sense that I'm coming away with nothing here other than hearing a fun song. Well, not fun song, but I do think that, yeah, visually, she did kind of nail it a couple of times. But all in all, when I'm staring at the shots and saying, wow, that was a really great shot, I'm doing it because I'm bored and I don't know what's going on. I don't care for what's going on, rather. It's paper thin, surface level, and I'm just not enjoying myself. So much so that the person I went with fell asleep during the film. And what does that tell you? Not captivating, not interesting, not sexy. Here's my score. And that's about it. Not good. Later.
The PlayStation is only $149, and you can also get leading titles.